It's a very important fact to understand that we're all born with the same serious sickness, and that serious sickness is something called sin. The story that I just read to you on the surface, if you read that story, you will realize that the story, first and foremost, is about a paralyzed man, a man who had a physical ailment. He was paralyzed. Jesus comes to the town of Capernaum, and in this hometown of Capernaum, he gathered in one of the houses there, and many people had heard of his ministry, and they all showed up into the house, and they packed the house with people. And there were 4 men who had a friend that didn't make it in. They didn't make it into the house, and so they said, "We've got to get our friend to Jesus." So they go to the roof, they tear open the roof, and they lower the man into the presence of Jesus, and they do everything possible to get that man into the presence of the Lord. And of course, this is where the healing transpires. Jesus healed the man. However, it's quite interesting that he addressed this healing in the context of forgiveness. I want you to notice what Jesus said to him. Before I read this, again, let me just remind you what I probably would have thought would have been said here. I thought Jesus would have looked at the man, and he's paralyzed, and Jesus would immediately have said to him, get up, take up your mat and walk, you're healed. But Jesus did not address the physical healing first. He addressed the spiritual need first. Look at what Jesus said to him. Jesus saw their faith. He said to the paralyzed man, we quoted it a moment ago, read it with me again, "Son, your sins are forgiven." He didn't say you're healed. He didn't say you're healed of your paralysis. That was not the first thing that Jesus said to the man. The first thing that he said to the man was, your sins are forgiven. Your sins are forgiven. Now, why did Jesus address the issue of forgiveness when the man was suffering with paralysis? Why was forgiveness? Nobody talked about forgiveness, but Jesus brings it to the focal point here in the story. He addressed this man's physical condition ultimately, but he does it from the premise or the beginning point of addressing his spiritual need. And I believe that in this story, Jesus was giving us a picture, a very important picture, of something physical that represents something far more serious in the spiritual realm, and it's the spiritual paralysis that we're all born with. I mentioned the word a moment ago. Let me give it to you again. It is this word. It is a word called sin.